Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is you may be checking in to take a look at this video announcement for Tuesday, week 12. And I guess this will also be week 13. I'll explain a little bit more why I've opened up two sections of the course at once, mainly it being Thanksgiving week coming up. You're going to need to finish the book, and having read a response paper that will be due after the Monday after Thanksgiving. As always, my due dates are pretty flexible. They're there to sort of keep people on track for the course. So if for some reason over the Thanksgiving weekend you don't get the paper completed on time, just be sure to turn it in when you do. But I wanted to go ahead and open up both weeks 12 and weeks 13 so people have a chance who are caught up with the work, who want to go ahead and finish reading the book. You can complete the discussion section for this week, and also get your response paper, get your thesis posted, and get your response paper written on time. I've been looking around. I haven't commented this week on the discussion board post for week 11. And I also should say that the journal posts are always so much fun to read. Journal posts are for a lot of fun, and I sort of put together the prompts I do because I just like seeing how people think and how people think in writing. So I'm always deeply impressed with the amount of time and effort and, really the sort of introspection that people delve into with the journal post, where sometimes writing a discussion post, because it's going to be kind of publicly read somewhat, even though it's behind this sort of blackboard wall, it sometimes tends to, I think people can maybe hold back where they don't quite hold back in their journal posts. So it's always a lot of fun. For those of you who've kept up with the work, I just really love reading what you guys have to say about these books. Back to the structure of the book with Love Medicine, I'm always pleased to see it's sometimes people love this book, sometimes people find it difficult to read, sometimes people love the structure of the multiple narrators telling sort of the same story from all these various perspectives. Characterization is not just built from the voice of one particular narrator, but characterization is built from the entire community and this entire tribal community. So that's a really key aspect of this book, is something called characterization. What one's character is. What does it mean to be a Cashpaw versus a Dirty Lazar, I guess, in Marie's case? What does it mean to be a Nanapush or a Lulu Lamartine? What does it mean to be Lulu, to be a Nanapush who is her character and her character within the community? How that sort of operates, I think, is unique. This novel sort of really pushes the envelope, I think, or it pushes us to sort of question sort of our judgment of characters, I think, based upon our reading of the book. So those are the kind of questions that we're going to be asking. We've asked in week 11 in terms of the structure. The book sets us up that way to sort of have us develop sort of multiple sort of viewpoints for characters. And then we should never forget the role of the reader. So be prepared. This is, when I ask you to begin to sort of write interpretation, that's where I want your sort of characterization of these characters to step in. But always be cognizant and always be aware to read the story as best you can within the context of this tribal community. I'm going to be asking you to sort of develop sort of a compare and contrast. Look at a couple of different characters and look at metaphors in the novel to see how they sort of operate between these characters. I think part of the most prominent metaphor in the novel is one of water, one of fishing, one of people going with the currents, one of people fighting against the currents. I should probably say for Ojibwe people, the death by drowning is an extremely tragic sort of event, to die by drowning. So, and because not necessarily the people of Turtle Mountain, because they're living out in North Dakota, but certainly they have this history of being a deeply sort of people who've lived on the Great Lakes, people who fish for walleye. Go back and think of Troyer and how deeply dependent people were upon harvesting from water in order to survive. While the folks in North Dakota, the Turtle Mountain folks, where I think you could probably argue that this novel is set, even though we're not particularly told that that's what it is, they've been removed from that water somewhat. They're on the western edge, so traditions for them are always somewhat submerged and somewhat muted. The traditions in this novel are somewhat muted, so it's no should become as no surprise, I think, to readers that so many of the characters struggle to sort of make that connection to some kind of a center, that they can be somewhat fragmented. But there's also characters in the novel who are deeply sort of maintain their traditions. We get glimpses of them in the short story called The Island, or the chapter called The Island. We get instances of them even in the story of Lulu, and how she was raised, being raised by the Nanapushes and Old Russia's bear. So deeply sort of the center has shifted greatly in the 20th century. And so what I think this novel does, as much as we talked about trying to identify like a Blackfeet male sense of being in Fool's Crow, this novel deeply tries to develop what it means to be not only an Ojibwe male, but deeply, deeply indebted to what it means to sort of be an Ojibwe female spanning across the 20th century. And if you read closely in these characters, you can see how their identities shift as the identity of Native Americans shift throughout the 20th century. I think this novel is deeply sort of indebted to developing identity and characterization. I could go on forever, and I probably shouldn't. So please get to your discussion board, your journal entries, get to your response papers as soon as you can. You'll notice that 2 weeks of the course have been opened at once. Don't get confused by the due dates. I would strongly suggest that you complete the work for week 12 first before beginning the work for week 13. But I look forward to reading all your work. Any questions, please reach out to me via email. And I will drop back in at the beginning of next week and make a quick announcement prior to Thanksgiving. All right, thanks so much. Have a good day. Bye.